So, unbelievably, we're back at it again. Football is just utterly relentless, isn't it? Because it doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago since I was last here at the AXA Training Centre for the final press conference of the season. And here we are for the first press conference of a new season and another press conference to cover now. Of course, it's not Jurgen Klopp we've been speaking to this time. It's a bit of a change, unusual. We got so used to Jurgen being there. Instead, this was Arne Slot's first press conference as a Premier League manager, and loads of interesting talking points in this one. And as you'd expect, really, actually, not a lot of chat about the fact that it was Ipswich Town who will face in that first Premier League game. Of course, this press conference was dominated by talk of transfers, as we always expect when the transfer window is still open. And that's particularly true at Liverpool, really, that would dominate the chat. And that is because, of course, there's been no signings so far in this transfer window. And I think fans are getting a little bit worried that Liverpool aren't going to add to the squad in this window, and worried that they're not going to strengthen in any way and attempt to kick on from what was a decent season last season, a third place finish and obviously a trophy added as well. But obviously Liverpool, they expect and want more. And the thought process is that without signings, that's going to be difficult for Liverpool. So people are getting a little bit worried about that. And of course, Arne Slot was asked about transfers straight off the bat, as you would expect. And thought he'd give kind of a good answer. He was asked specifically, actually, about Martin Zubimendi and the failed move there, and whether Liverpool is still looking to add to the squad. And I thought he gave a really good answer on that. He said, I think our squad is really strong, and it's not so easy to find players that can help us or strengthen the squad. Zubimendi, to be fair, was one of them, but he decided not to come. So I thought that was kind of interesting, the basis that very different to Jurgen Klopp. I'm not sure that Jurgen Klopp would have name-checked the player openly. I'm not sure. I think he would have maybe shied away from that. Never liked to get into specifics around transfers, and to actually name-drop Zubimendi I thought was interesting, but he was really keen to emphasise, Arne Slot, to talk about that transfer on the basis that he kind of wanted to defend Richard Hughes' role in that, the sporting director. He sort of very much said that he tried everything he could, but at the end of the day, look, if a player doesn't want to come and he gives you a no after deciding and having to think about his future, there's not an awful lot that a sporting director or a manager or anyone involved in the club can really do. So I think he really wanted to make that point in this press conference, and he was also keen to emphasise as well that Liverpool are still working to add in the transfer market. He said that him and Richard Hughes are working together really hard to look where they can strengthen and make sure that they get in players that do actually strengthen the squad. Because one of the other points he made, and again I thought this was really interesting, I thought he was absolutely accurate as well actually, is he said, look, teams, to summarise, he basically said that teams will add players, but it's not necessarily that we are getting weaker by not adding. Obviously, in his expectation, you can still get stronger on the training ground. That is an area you can improve. And also, that signing players does not always improve you. Now, I made this point on Twitter a moment ago, actually, in a reply to someone. I said that people never think about this, but there are teams who will have made signings this summer that actually weaken them. They won't be as good as the players they've replaced, or they'll be injured all the time, or they just won't turn out to be good players. They won't adapt to a new league. All these factors come into play, and yet we always think about the fact that signings will strengthen a team, whereas I think Arne Slot was kind of making the point that is not always actually the case. Where Liverpool's strength has been in recent years is that every time they've made a signing, or generally speaking, it has actually strengthened them. It has made them better. Their hit rate amongst transfers in the Premier League is very, very high in comparison to the rivals. So I think that is something, that's why they're being very exacting at the moment. I do absolutely believe that they need to strengthen, and I think Slot, he very much emphasised that they are trying to do that at the moment, but they're trying to make sure it's the right player and someone who actually does strengthen them. So I think that is a very important point, and one he was very keen to kind of get across really in this press conference. Now, a few other talking points outside of transfers. He didn't just talk about that. There was some Ipswich talk, but I'll be honest, it wasn't hugely interesting in comparison to the rest. Another huge talking point around the squad at the moment, or around the club really, is the contract situations. Obviously, Mohamed Salah, Trent, Alexander-Arnold, Virgil, Dijk, all into those final year of the contracts now, and within 6 months' time, or when we get to January actually, all of those players will be able to talk to clubs about contracts elsewhere, in foreign leagues at least. They'll be able to discuss potential terms if they were to move, which is obviously hugely worrying. And Arne Slot was asked about this, any progress, and unfortunately didn't really give much of an answer on this one. He said this is not the place to talk about contracts. He has been quite firm on that so far during his reign, doesn't want to really talk about contracts in press conferences. And I said, his answer on Zubimendi was different to Jurgen, very similar to Jurgen on this one. Jurgen never really liked to speak about contracts or those situations in press conferences, and I think we can expect a little bit more of the same from Arne Slot on that front. Another player whose future might be considered slightly up in the air in terms of the speculation we've seen is Diaz, and again he was asked about him. Gave a fairly firm answer, perhaps surprisingly firm answer, in saying that the quote was, his future is with us. He's been really impressed by what he's seen since he's come back from the Copa America, impressed by what he's seen in past seasons for Liverpool as well, and by the looks of things, he seemed ready to rule out the possibility of leaving Liverpool this summer. I mean, it's something I kind of heard privately a couple of days ago, actually, is that, you know, the idea that Liverpool would let him go at this point in the window, that window is really, really shrinking. It's very, very unlikely, it's considered internally, that Liverpool would sanction a move to Barcelona. For starters, I mean, the expectation that Barca will put the right money on the table is very, very slim, but also it gives Liverpool such little time to get a replacement in that it's very, very hard to see how they would sanction that. And judging by what Slot said today, Diaz is a full part of his plans for this coming season, so it looks like he's going to be counting on him, and that speculation about Barcelona isn't going to come to anything. You never rule anything out in the transfer window, of course, and we'll have to see how that plays out, but I thought it was interesting that he was so firm on that one. And another player, again, not his future's in doubt, but I think a player who we want to see more from this season, and that is Darwin Núñez. He was asked how could you get more out of him in his third season at Liverpool, and he said ultimately it's all about getting him in goal scoring positions. It's not just about him, it's about the team performance will make him better, and if we can get him in those positions more frequently, then he will be a better player. And he said it's the same for all the forwards. It's basically our job as a team to get them in the positions where they can make a difference, and they can use the skills that they've got to score goals, to set each other up. So he's all about getting them in positions, and he thinks if he gets team improvement, he will see individual improvement from Darwin Núñez, and let's hope so. Let's hope that can start against Ipswich. Maybe don't expect him to start that game, but if he can come off the bench and get a goal, that'd be great for his confidence and a great start to his third season, where we want to see a little bit more from Darwin Núñez. Now, the last point is one I usually actually start these press conference videos with. It's the team news, but I wanted to save this to last because I think sometimes you have to save the best till last. And incredibly, the team news, I used to always start the videos with them because every week there was an update on someone was missing, or, you know, this player's had a setback, or, you know, the last season in particular, or last couple of seasons really under Jurgen, injuries were such a big problem. Now, incredibly, Arne Slot was asked about the team news today, any injuries, and he said no, everybody's fit, which I can't believe it, and I think that is, well, incredible, really, a boost for Liverpool. Can they keep this going throughout the season? It's very, very important, because I think it's an underrated element, and although I believe Liverpool need transfers, one area where they can get massive improvement out of this squad going into the coming season, even without transfers, is to have fewer injuries. You know, they've been decimated by injuries in recent seasons, and I think that's really affected performance, certainly at certain parts in campaigns. You know, if the injuries get really, really bad, Liverpool have had to battle through those, and then even when you get players back, they're lacking rhythm, or the players who've had to cover for them are too tired. So I think having a fully fit squad at the start of the season is a really, really good sign, and we really, really hope that can continue into the season, because, as I say, I think there's 5 to 10 points available on the table there for Liverpool just on the basis of keeping the squad fully fit. So let's hope that they can do that, and a very, very good start on that front in this press conference and that fitness update. Now, let me know what you thought of the press conference. Let me think what you thought of how Arne Slot spoke and what he said, and the contract situations, the transfers. Are you still hopeful that Liverpool will get someone in? Do let me know what you think. And as ever, if you can like the video, I always massively appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, then please do subscribe. So many transfer updates to come, press conferences, all match coverage. I'll be at every Anfield match as well this season, as per usual. So looking forward to all that, and of course coverage from the Ipswich game coming up. So I'll see you guys very, very soon.